Here we are. We're concluding this series that we've been going through, our journey back to faith. Now, you're not finishing your journey back to faith because we should always be making that progress in our journey. But we are concluding our series. And as we look back, as we see what this journey back to faith entailed, we see that first it was very important, as we saw the people of Israel, to leave Egypt than to actually go. So the first part of our journey back to faith is to go, to start that journey, to start walking. Stop talking and start walking. The second part of this journey back to faith, as we go along this journey, is to remember our beginnings. Remember where we began. Remember what our life was like before. For the people of Israel, they were out in the desert, and they said, let us go back to Egypt. It was better there. But if they actually thought back to Egypt, it wasn't better there. It was pretty bad. And so as we look at our lives, we see that it was pretty bad. And as we continue on our journey back to faith, another thing that we need to remember is that we need to give back. And through that, we need to have a holy rest. A holy rest. And as we have that holy rest, it is for us to recharge so that we may make this journey back to faith. We may continue on this journey. And today as we conclude this series, we come back to this idea of believe and see. Believe and see. As we go back on this journey, we need to remember that this faith, this idea is to believe. And once we believe, then we will see. Then we will see. So we're going to look at Job. And what we know about Job is that he was a man who seemed to have everything going right for him. So we look at the beginning of the book. He had houses, he had land, he had a wife, he had kids, and everything seemed to be going very well for him. But Satan wanted to prove that God's best would buckle, that God's best would give up. And so during the course of Job lost everything. He became sick. He got boils on himself so that he couldn't feel good standing up, sitting down, or laying down. There was no wind for him at that time. And so his friends came and talked to him and gave him counsel. And ultimately their suggestion was, curse God and die. Curse God and die. This man who was professing God, his friends were saying, he gave up on you. He gave up on you. With these type of friends, who needs enemies? And so, Job, at this point, this 38th chapter, is getting close to the end, and things are getting a little tougher. And just like there are hearings for judges in the Supreme Court, so also Job was trying to test God, was trying to put him on trial. But during this trial, during this time, God said, in verse 1, then the Lord answered Job out of the storm. He said, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Job is to take that witness stand. Job is the one who's going to take this witness stand. And the key thing here, verse 2, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? That's what a lot of us try to do a lot of times, don't we? On our journey to faith, we try to speak without knowing what the Bible says. Try to talk about the nature of God when we don't know what the nature of God is. It's like somebody, this is really scary, somebody who takes psychology for the first time. And while they're taking psychology, they come to each of these really cool ideas, and then they see it in everybody, and they try to psychoanalyze their siblings and their friends, and usually they just really annoy them. And, of course, they don't help them at all because they don't have enough information. They don't have the knowledge to be able to do it. You know, and it'd be scary to think of a freshman in high school going through biology, thinking that all of a sudden they can go over and try to take care of your cat by cutting it apart and doing things to it. No, that would be without knowledge. That would be without knowledge. It's a scary idea. But so is questioning God without knowing his book. so very important to us is to get to know him. To get to know him. So here he talks to Job. Here's his questions to him. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched the measuring line across it? On what were its footing set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garments and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place, when I said, this far you may come and no farther, here is where your proud waves halt. And he continues. Where were you when I created the world? Where were you when I did all this? How can you speak about it? Were you there? Could you see it? No, Job was not able to see it. Job was not able to understand. He was speaking without knowledge. He was speaking without knowledge. But God was telling him. God was speaking to him. As we go on this journey back to faith, we have to consider this. It makes me think a little bit about last year when my television died. I figured I might be able to fix it. So I opened up the back of my television and I looked in there and I saw it was dirty, so I vacuumed it out, and beyond that, there wasn't much I could do. Because I never learned how to fix a television. I didn't know what was wrong with it. There was nothing about that I understood. I wasn't there when it was made, and I wasn't told how it was made, so there was nothing that I could do. And so Job wasn't there when the earth was created either. And Job, on his journey back to faith, was challenged by God, saying, are you going to question me? I am the God of the universe who created the world, and you question me. You question me. There's a story about twins in the womb. And as they're in the womb, the brother says,